All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel, guys. Today we have a Houston Rockets video for you. Now, before we get into it, hit the like button, hit the sub button. It really helps out the algorithm. Any comments really help out, just push the video out as well. So any comments are much appreciated. I also have my Twitch link down in the bio. I go live every single night. Last night I had 23 people in it at one point. It was just absolutely unreal. So go check that out. Today, we're going to kind of talk about the Houston Rockets' biggest weakness. Now, I saw this report or this article on Bleacher Report, and I thought it was a perfect time to kind of talk about Cade Cunningham again. So, the biggest weakness for the Rockets is kind of that main centerpiece, that clear-cut number one option. And this is something you saw throughout the last season, especially when James Harden, really only when James Harden was gone, because you had guys like John Wall, Victor Oladipo, Christian Wood, later on Kevin Porter Jr. You have a lot of these guys have good games here and there, but for the most part, it was nothing consistent. Like, none of it was consistent. And they just clearly lack that sole number one option. Some nights it's Christian Wood, some nights it's Kevin Porter Jr. Well, Cade Cunningham really will solve those issues. Now, the Rockets are in phase one of their rebuild right after the James Harden trade. The Rockets finished 27th in both offensive and defensive efficiency. So they're more than just a quick fix, like a quick, John Collins sign away from returning to relevance. But Cade Cunningham puts them on a much faster track, and he puts them on the right track. Now, John Wall is a useful player to just have on the team to kind of make sure everything is going smoothly while KPJ, Jae'Sean Tate, and KJ Martin kind of get comfortable and get confident with themselves in the next season. Now, they still need another initiator to build around, a guy who you can eventually build the offense through, right? I love Christian Wood. I love Kevin Porter Jr., but you guys know my points on both those players. I think Christian Wood, at best, will be a second option on a championship team. I think most likely he'll be a third option on a championship team, kind of like a better Kevin Love in a sense. And then with Kevin, I think KPJ is just much more useful at the shooting guard position. I don't see the reason to force it at point guard unless it works extremely well at point guard. I know that he had some good numbers, but you got to remember, there were nights where he was turning the ball over 7 times, and this was just becoming an everyday type thing, and the excuse was, oh, he's young, but I understand that. However, he's just a much more efficient player at that shooting guard spot, in my opinion. If you have a guy like Cade Cunningham at point guard, having a guy like Kevin Porter Jr., no matter who your point guard is, it's so useful because you can just give the ball to this guy and he's going to be able to play make and shot create on his own, and he's also going to be able to get other guys involved. You can throw the ball to him with 5 seconds left on the shot clock, and he'll be able to either kick it out to the proper player or he'll be able to figure out a way to get to the basket or score a point. So I really like KPJ at that shooting guard position, which makes John Wall, he's got 1 year left, and then a player option, which will most likely take after that. So it makes getting a point guard in this year's draft kind of important, or at least just a good cornerstone point guard. Now, Cade Cunningham obviously is the dream target for Houston because he would be the number one scoring option. He'd be the lead playmaker. Like, this dude would be great. Now, Jalen Suggs is also a decent replacement because he can log a bunch of minutes, especially off-ball minutes, and he's ready to play in the NBA. He's played a couple of years in college, and he's just looking NBA ready. So Jalen Green, on the other hand, he looks pretty NBA ready as well. He just played a full G League season with a bunch of professional basketball players, so a lot of them NBA players. So I think Jalen Green's going to come into the league and put up 15 points right away as well. But I think the player that the Rockets are targeting mainly if they don't get Cade Cunningham would be Evan Mobley. He's got some great rim protection. He's got some great just defense, and he could help. All 4 of these players can really help Houston build a new identity. Now, Cade Cunningham is the dude, though. Now, the term generational prospect, it gets tossed around a lot, and you guys have been hearing me say that pretty much anytime I talk about Cade, and I still think it's fair. I understand it sets very unfair standards, unreachable expectations, but most likely Cade Cunningham is going to be the best player in this draft. There's not really been many prospects in the last couple of years who have been as rounded as him. Now, he's been hyped up since high school, and so is Jalen Green, so is Evan Mobley. But this dude, Cade, is a 6'8", 220-pound do-it-all player. He's got the size of a wing. He's got point guard skills. He's got basketball IQ of a veteran. Now, it's really hard to imagine a world where he isn't an all-star contributing to a winning team. Now, there's really, coming out of 2 years ago in high school, there were really only two concerns with him: athleticism and three-point shoot, or mainly just shooting in general, not even just three-point shooting. He doesn't have elite athleticism, so that might come out to hinder him at like rim finishing and on-ball defending, but his size, his strength, and his IQ, they pretty much make up for any of those shortcomings. And when it comes to shooting concerns, I mean, Cade really just put those to rest immediately. He shot 40% from three on 155 attempts, which is 5.7 attempts per game. And these came off the dribble, they came off screen, spotting up. Cade also shot 44% from the floor and 84.6% from the line. So this is a very talented scorer, and he is extremely comfortable creating his own shots, finishing through traffic, and shooting just over aggressive defensive contests. Now, in pretty much every single game Cade played, opposing defenses were just locked on him. Double teams were common almost every possession. All 5 defenders would collapse when he drove. And this is something he had to overcome every single night. And it makes his at-rim finishing statistics even more impressive. Cunningham scored 1.3 points per possession, which is in the 82nd percentile around the basket. He can really do it all, and if the Rockets can find a way to get this dominant ball handler number one option, it really allows so much more room for KPJ and Christian Wood, Jay Sean, KJ, to develop their game. Because you don't want KPJ and Christian Wood getting double-teamed every game because they're the only guys on the Houston Rockets. You want a full, cohesive team that teams should be afraid of, opposing defenders should be afraid of. And if they go out and they find a way to get Cade Cunningham, that solves this issue. If not, we'll see what happens. It might be another year of, who's number one, but we'll see who they draft and go from there. Anyways, guys, hit the like button, hit the sub button. I'll see you.